How's it going, everybody? This is my midweek trip out here to the lake for some bass fishing. Had a great day. I didn't catch any big ones, but I caught a lot. Before I get started on how I caught them today, I'll be out here one day next week, and then next weekend I'm not fishing. But I want to run a video. There's something I've been thinking about. I do believe that there's people that they want to get started in something, but they don't know how. They don't know where to get started. And I think that's true of bass fishing. Next weekend I'm going to run a video on how to get started. 4 or 5 proven baits that catch bass, what kind of rig to get, line size, knots. I'm going to spend some time on this video, and hopefully if you're wanting to get into bass fishing, that video will help you. The way I caught them today, I got out here this morning and I had some light wind, I had a little bit of cloud cover. And so when I topwater fish, I base my topwater baits on the conditions I'm fishing. So what I'm trying to do is what's going to get the bass's attention. If I'm dealing with, stronger winds, we've talked about I'll throw a big whopper plopper or I'll throw a big walking bait, okay? And these things work when the wind kicks up. Today was a little bit lighter wind, so I went with one of my favorite topwaters. They're really fun. It's just called a popper. I don't remember the brand. There's a ton of different brands of poppers out there. You can pick them up at Walmart. All you do with a popper is you just cast it out. You leave it set on the water for a few seconds after it hits. You give it a quick jerk. Because of the way the head is built and that lip in there, it makes kind of a bloop type sound and it splashes water. I'll do that maybe once or twice, and then I'll just leave it set. I'll wait a few seconds, hit it once or twice, leave it set. It's a really cool topwater bait. He took it as soon as it hit the bottom, or as soon as it hit the water, as soon as it hit the top. It's fun catching them topwater. Show you a little different bait I'm using here. Just another way to catch bass on a topwater. Oops. Okay. Got me a little topwater bass here. First fish always gets a kiss. I'll show you what I'm using here. This is called a Topwater Popper. It's got a this little lip right here. When you slap the slack on the water, it makes it pop, and they react to that. It's a great way to catch them topwater. There he is. You don't have to move it much. You just pop it and let it set for a sec. A lot of times these bass will just jump right up there and get it. It's a real fun way to catch them topwater. They'll hit the whopper plopper this morning, but I really wanted to show you just a little different way of getting them. And hey, come here, get over here. Just a little different way of catching them. A lot of fun. One of the other baits that worked really good today, and if you're a bass fisherman, you're familiar with jigs. This is a little Strike King bitsy jig, okay? It's a 1/4 ounce, and the trailer I put on it is called a Zoom Creepy Crawler. And the color I like to put is root beer pepper green. That's the color. Now basically I've got contrasting colors on this jig. I want it to look like one of two things. It could look like a small crawdad in the water, and that's going to be your black and blue, because crawdads tend to be darker in color. But by using this trailer, it can also mimic a small bait fish on the bottom of the water feeding. And all you do when you throw this thing out is just throw it, let it hit the bottom, and just kind of drag it along. And the bass like them. Caught this guy on a simple jig. One of the other baits I used is just a spinnerbait. A spinnerbait, let me get this open here so I can show you. A spinnerbait is a proven way to catch bass. I like the ones, these are the willow blades. I like about a 1/4 ounce to a 1/2 ounce spinnerbait. And I take a little swim bait and I just thread it on there, and I barely have it hanging or just beyond these little appendages here. Now, a lot of people don't like to throw a spinnerbait when you have bluebird skies. I will throw it anyway. If I can get a little wind, and I had a little wind today, and I had a little chop on the water, I don't care about the bluebird skies. The only thing that I do is I keep the spinnerbait up. I don't want it on the bottom. I don't want it in the middle because the bass can see it too well. I want it up top to where they're looking up at it and it's kind of a silhouette. And it looks like a little ball of bait fish. Get this around there, a little ball of bait fish right up on top of the water. So when you're working this thing, you're going to be able to see the blades on top of the water. Just right under the surface of the water. And what's cool is the bass just come right up and you can watch them do it. They just grab it and take off with it. Spinner baits are a great way to catch bass. This is one of the baits that I'm going to start you off with. If you're someone, man, I'm all tangled up. If you're someone that's just getting into bass fishing, I'm definitely going to recommend a spinnerbait. When I started bass fishing, I only knew 2 baits, a spinnerbait and a Texas rig worm. And we are going to eventually be talking about that Texas rig worm. Get the boat. That's a nice one. Man, these waves. Nice bass on a spinnerbait. Maybe 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds. A couple other ways I caught them, of course, the Ned rig. But the drop shot worked really good today. And the drop shot worked good in 2 ways today. I found an area where there's some dead grass on the shoreline. But it ran, of course, if it's dead there, it's running into the water from the shoreline. So I already know I've got some vegetation there to fish. I just took a drop shot. I don't have it set up right now. I broke it off. And I put about 1.5 foot between the hook and the weight itself, 1/8 ounce weight. And the bait that I used today, which is a morning dawn color, and I think I've talked to you about this bait before, but it's called a Yum sharpshooter. It's just a great drop shot bait. So what I was doing was, when I was fishing over that grass or whatever kind of vegetation it was, I was just coming right over the top of it with that drop shot, and I was getting bites. The other way the drop shot worked, and if you're not into bass fishing there and you're going to get into it, there's a term I want you to become familiar with. It's called isolated cover. I mean, you can do this fishing from the bank. Years ago, my wife and I were bank fishing out at Santa Margarita. And we're just walking along the bank, and my wife sees a dock. It's there all by itself. Okay, that's isolated cover. She gets on the dock. She starts throwing a spinnerbait, and she caught a 5-pound bass. Okay, isolated cover is really a key way to find bass when they're hard to find. So I'm out roaming the lake, just going up and down. I see a dock all by itself. I fish that dock. I thoroughly fish all the way around it. Underneath, it was covered. There was no boat in there. It had nice shade, and all I was doing was just taking a drop shot and just flipping it in there or pitching it in there, and I just started catching a bunch of them. It was completely fun. spotted bass. So, isolated cover. I don't know how many fish I caught at this one dock all by itself. Just pitching the drop shot, covering the dock thoroughly, caught a bunch of fish. Works. Isolated cover. Well, I hope these videos help out. I love doing them. Actually, I'm probably having too much fun with this GoPro. There'll be people who will walk by and see me talking to this thing. Yeah, they think I'm weird, and they're probably right. But I'm enjoying doing this. We're not that far away from opening a YouTube channel. I think we got the name of it nailed down, and I'll be sharing that here before long. So hopefully these tips will help. I love to help people in bass fishing. Every bass fisherman has his own way of doing it. Study everybody. Get on YouTube. I watch so many videos. I've subscribed to so many channels. I'm constantly learning, because people can take a bait like a spinnerbait, work it a little different than I do. I just learned another way to work a spinnerbait. And that's what this is all about. It's just growing and learning. I hope you have a great week. This next weekend is one of my grandchildren's 10th birthday, so we're going to be celebrating her birthday, and I won't be fishing out here next weekend, but I will be fishing out here Thursday. I'm going to come out here on the 4th of July early in the morning, fish a few hours, and wrap it up. I hope you have a great week. Talk to you soon.